One of the most important news stories that nobody's talking about is the DNC lawsuit that's currently happening. A bunch of Bernie Sanders supporters and lawyers got together and filed a massive lawsuit against the Democratic National Committee for accusations of rigging the primaries. One of the processors of a lawsuit against the DNC released this video.
You guys were able to witness that? Here is the Democratic headquarters.
Thanks for helping us.
Thank you. We were able to deliver the documents.
Yeah, they wouldn't give us any of the head honchos, which I kind of had a feeling wasn't going to happen. But we did make contact with somebody from the Democratic National Committee's office, and they've been served. Democracy has prevailed today.
Exactly, and you guys all were witness to it. That's the beauty of technology. I'm so happy today. Now
We're both happy.
Have a wonderful 4th of July weekend.
Happy 4th of July weekend, everybody. One source process.
This is something that you can drink on this weekend.
And died within a few months. Even Snopes reported on it, but they say, of course, you know, it had nothing to do with that. Before I even get into this lawsuit, I'm going to say what we all know. The Democratic primary is completely rigged. They have superdelegates that don't have to listen to anybody, they just vote whichever way they want. It's like if the Cavaliers and the Warriors played in the NBA Finals, except at the end of every game they added 40 points to the Warriors. Disgraced Democratic National Committee head Debbie Wasserman Schultz even admitted this herself. The whole system is to stop anyone else from winning.
Hillary Clinton lost to Bernie Sanders in New Hampshire by 22 percentage points, the biggest victory in a contested Democratic primary there since John F. Kennedy. But it looks as though Clinton and Sanders are leaving the Granite State with the same number of delegates in their pockets because Clinton has the support of New Hampshire's superdelegates, these party insiders. What do you tell voters who are new to the process who says this makes them feel like it's all rigged?
Unpledged delegates exist really to make sure that party leaders and elected officials don't have to be in a position where they are running against grassroots activists. We are, as a Democratic Party, really highlight and emphasize inclusiveness and diversity at our convention, and so we want to give every opportunity to grassroots activists and diverse, committed Democrats to be able to participate, attend, and be a delegate at the convention. And so we separate out those unpledged delegates to make sure that there isn't competition between them.
I'm not sure that answer would satisfy an anxious young voter, but let's move on.
Back to the lawsuit that's taking place right now. The Democratic National Committee's lawyers basically admitted they don't have to do anything. They could pick the candidate in a back room if they want. And the outcome of this lawsuit is very important either way, because if the Democratic National Committee does win, it does prove that they don't have to listen to anybody. They don't have to have a fair election. That's just the way it goes. It's not a democracy. It's not you vote for the Democratic nominee. It's we choose the Democratic nominee. We have this whole fake system that you could play along with, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you think. And if the Democratic National Committee loses, that means that Bernie Sanders supporters who donated to his campaign can file a class action lawsuit and get money back for all of the money they spent towards the Bernie campaign, since the courts determined that they were cheated. So this is a massive, massive deal. A lot of people talk about the Electoral College, which is pretty sketchy. A lot of people talk about voter fraud, this and that. Why are they not talking about the clearly most rigged part of the election, the Democratic primary? Superdelegates, Donna Brazile getting fired for leaking questions to Hillary Clinton, Debbie Wasserman Schultz being forced to resign. It's a whole corrupt mess. The strangest part about these lawsuits is the lack of coverage from two of the biggest progressive leaders, Bernie Sanders and the Young Turks. Bernie Sanders toured the country with Tom Perez. He blames Russia. He praises Macron. He condemns voter fraud, and he gets mad at Trump for talking about voter fraud existing. But strangely enough, he hasn't found time to talk about his own supporters and the lawsuit that is trying to claim that he got cheated out of the election, which we all know. If Bernie Sanders cared about a fair democracy so much, why wouldn't he talk about the Democratic primary, which is clearly the most unfair part of the entire election? Nope, he's too busy sharing Washington Post and New York Times articles, the same news publications that elevated Trump, acted as a giant PR shield for Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, and never gave Bernie Sanders any fair press. Even one of the main lawyers in this lawsuit noticed. Hello, Bernie, are you going to talk about this, or are you just going to keep shilling for the Democrats? Personally, I campaigned and supported Bernie Sanders, but I found out he was a fraud and a phony months ago. I don't know what it's going to take for his supporters to wake up and realize he doesn't care about you, he doesn't care about supporting a new party, he doesn't care about justice for you and all of the money and time you spent towards his campaign. He doesn't care. He's going to blame Russia, he's going to support Macron, he's going to support Hillary Clinton, he's going to shill for his healthcare, he's going to shill for his Democrats, he's going to talk against voter fraud. Voter fraud doesn't exist, and anybody who says voter fraud exists is bad. They're destroying democracy. And also the Young Turks, who journalist H.A. Goodman has called out on numerous times for being a faulty, fake progressive news establishment that doesn't really care about their own supporters and true progressive values. Another strange thing about this coverage is nobody's talking about Seth Rich, a DNC employee who was killed in Washington, D.C. Now, of course, they said the death was random, and I'm not claiming to know the real reason, but does anybody else find it odd? When he died, WikiLeaks immediately put out a reward for anybody who had information on his death. Sometime last month, WikiLeaks confirmed that Guccifer 2.0, the hacker that leaked the information to WikiLeaks, had DM'd somebody on Twitter and said, "The name of my leaker is Seth." All signs are pointing towards Seth Rich releasing the DNC emails. How come they're not talking about this at the DNC lawsuit? How come they're not talking about it at the Russia investigation? Are they so gung-ho about blaming Russia for everything and using it as a giant smokescreen to completely block people's vision from all of their own corruption that they don't even want to investigate or talk about this guy? So to recap, there's a big lawsuit against the Democratic National Committee for rigging the election. The Democratic National Committee admitted themselves that the entire election is rigged so that other people can't win. Whether they win or lose, everybody knows the election is rigged. Shawn Lucas died, Seth Rich died, and Bernie Sanders couldn't seem to care less. Much love to you and much blessings to anybody watching this video. It will be very interesting to see the results of this lawsuit.
Watch me living out the system, yeah, I stretch like every day. I be all about my fitness, keep my mind about the stress, so I always beat my sickness. I don't trust no corporation, cause they lie like politics.